welcome to Financial Insider Weekly. I'm your host, Michael Gray, CPA, and my guest today is Betty Baker Marshall, an attorney here in Campbell, California. So today, Betty and I are going to be talking about some elder, mostly health-related issues and some of the legal aspects of that and so forth. And since we're getting into legal stuff, I guess the first thing that we want to point out is that we want people to go to an attorney related to this stuff, that it is important to seek legal advice. So we want to give you sort of a little jumping off place, a starting point of basic information, but from here, people do really need to get advice from a lawyer. So where we are right now, where I am right now, you may have been, I don't know, is your mother still living?
No, she's not, unfortunately.
Okay. But a lot of us baby boomers are finding ourselves caring for our senior parents,
Right.
and for friends. And what we call the great generation is now in the failing years and needs to provide for their long-term care. And so really that's what we're talking about today. So with that, I want to lead off with, just what's a durable power of attorney for healthcare?
A durable power of attorney for health care is a document that is signed, we call it executed, by a person to name an agent, another person, to make healthcare decisions for them in the event they can't do so.
Mm-hmm.
It could be if they happen to get into an accident or an illness and they're unable to speak to the doctor and understand what's going on, or more commonly we think of it being used for an elderly person or a terminally ill person who is certainly going to be needing someone to make healthcare decisions for them.
So we hate to say it, but like I have a situation, my father-in-law has Alzheimer's. We've seen other people, they may be incapacitated, they've been in an accident, or they're in a coma, or what. Even young people this happens for,
Absolutely,
unfortunately.
it does, yes.
Yeah, so anyway, so this is just one type of document to really help for that particular situation, and really makes things actually a little easier for the family.
Well, it can be very difficult if there is not a document like that executed, because people think that family members are empowered to make those decisions, or in situations I sometimes see a younger person might get into an accident, or an older person, and they think their spouse is able legally to make decisions for them, and in fact they are not. I know that it's kind of normal for the doctor to inquire of the family, and everyone talks about that,
Right.
But for some difficult decisions where perhaps the surgeon or the doctor doesn't agree with the family, they can ignore their instructions.
Oh, wow.
So if one would get into that kind of a situation without having these documents executed, then the only alternative after that point would be to go to court. And that could be costly and heartrending, because family members may not agree. So it's a very important document for yourself and for your family members.
And when you go to court, again, it may not be your wishes that are being carried out. It's going according to the conscience of the judge, and that person may have different values from you.
Well, that's true. If there's evidence of the wishes that the person has, then that's brought into court, then the judge will follow those.
Mm-hmm.
But frequently people don't leave a trail. This is something that people like to avoid talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, it has disastrous consequences.
Right. So, what's an advanced healthcare directive? All these foreign terms, my goodness,
Right.
but very important nonetheless.
Well, Advanced Healthcare Directive is a document that is usually done in conjunction with the durable power of attorney for healthcare. In fact, in California, the statutory, meaning that it's in the written law, the statutory form is a combination of a durable power of attorney for healthcare and Advanced Healthcare Directive. And the Advanced Healthcare Directive has a list of specific issues that you're instructing the world, basically, but the agent to notify the medical people about what you don't want done in the event that you should be terminal. For example, you don't want a respirator. So if you can't breathe on your own, you don't want to be hooked up to a respirator if it'll never be pulled out. You know, I mean, most people, they want respirators to help them to get better if it's temporary, but they don't want to live for the rest of their lives on a respirator. Similar, taking food by stomach.
Yeah.
So if you can't swallow, which is a common thing that happens with people with dementia, for example, in the latter stages they can't swallow. So then typically there's a tube inserted in their stomach.
And sometimes down the throat, I
well,
guess.
yes, and also down
tube.
the throat. I mean, neither one sounds terribly pleasant.
Yeah, right.
Now, again, if that's a temporary measure, most people would go along with that. But this document then would, the purpose of that document would be to instruct that if you get to a certain stage, for example, if you can't swallow your food and that's a permanent stage, then you don't want the tube feeding. Cardiac arrest, you don't want them to pound on your heart. Again, this is typically for someone who's terminal from some other cause. And so rather than string out their lives with no quality to their lives, they're instructing. So it's fairly recent that we have this document in our law, and it's a good document. And there's also a requirement that the hospitals present these kinds of documents to people when they're admitted. It doesn't mean that they have to sign it, but the hospital has to present it to them so that they have the opportunity to sign it upon going into the hospital. And so many people end up getting their documents signed there. And I've seen people in my office who already have that. Sometimes they want to change it in retrospect, and sometimes we leave that in place and we do other documents that form around it. And then the American Medical Association also has a packet of these documents that they put out that are very good. It's a little booklet type of form. So I would like to make a comment about the durable power of attorney, if I might, just to give you a little bit more information about it, is that a power of attorney without saying durable does not remain effective after someone becomes incapacitated. So once, let's say someone is getting demented, they give you a power of attorney, but it's not durable. Then once they're really beyond being able to make their own decisions, then that's not effective. So it's kind of useless to even do that. A durable power of attorney is effective even after they're incapacitated. However, all of these documents are revocable. So that's important to know.
That means you can change it.
You can change it, or you can say, I don't want that person to be my agent anymore. I don't want that specific treatment. So you can object to just the specific treatment. So the real intention of these documents is that they're voluntary, and they continue to be voluntary.
Okay.